Good evening. Welcome to the 1913 Project, sponsored by the Ann Arbor Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. I'd like to get us started with a poem entitled Vote by Nikki Giovanni, who is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta. Vote. It's not a hug or mistletoe at Christmas. It's not a colored egg at Easter, nor a bunny hopping across the meadow. It's a vote saying you're a citizen. Though sometimes it's chocolate or vanilla, it can be female or male. It's right or left, but I'm a citizen. I should be able to vote from prison. I should be able to vote from the battlefield. I should be able to vote when I get a driver's license. I should be able to vote when I can purchase a gun, when I'm in the hospital or the old folks' home, or if I need a ride to the polling place. I am a citizen. I must be able to vote. Folks were lynched, folks were shot, folks' communities were gerrymandered. Folks who believed in the Constitution were lied to, burned out, bought, and sold because they believed all men and women were created equal. Folks voted to make us free. It is not cookies or cake, but icing so sweet. Good for us, good for the folks. My country, 'tis of thee. Again, good evening. Welcome to the 1913 Project. We have a various formatted program for you tonight, but we'd like to start off with President of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority here in the Ann Arbor Alumni Chapter with President Loretta Thomas. President Thomas?
Thank you, Sir Winborn. Truly, it is our country, and we need to ensure that over the next period of time, that we will exercise our full right to vote. Thank you for that beautiful poem to welcome. And welcome our members, our friends, our family, and our guests. This is an important evening for us to become better educated and informed about sustaining our democracy. Delta Sigma Theta has been very committed and devoted to social action, which includes ensuring our democracy since we began. The very first effort of our founding members was to participate in the women's suffrage movement. Even though they were told not to come, their bravery, their courageousness, and their commitment to make this world a better place through the right to vote was demonstrated by their showing up and participating. They not only showed up, they began what we have received as a legacy of absolute devotion to social action and our commitment to be the kinds of citizens that affect our future. Among our members are active individuals who have served our city, our county, our townships, including the current mayor of the city of Ypsilanti and the mayor pro tem in the city of Ypsilanti. We work, we serve, we strive, we vote. I thank our Social Action Committee for the work that has been done to produce this evening's program. You are in for an education, you are in for information, and in the process, we Deltas like to do it right, so you will be entertained as well. Thank you for joining us, and please leave this meeting better educated and committed to take action, to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, President Thomas. Before we get into the program and the different content formats, let's start off with a live prayer from Chaplain Monique Washington.
Good evening. If we will bow our heads Start with the Bible verse from the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 48. To whom much is given, much will be required. Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing this program together. Calls for action and a good fight to get the vote out. Help us to save our democracy and to restore civility. As representatives within our communities, we come together as one to learn, plan, and act with a purpose. Using our influence and resources, help us, Lord, to make a positive difference for all. Help us to spread hope and truth, to rally the members of the community who feel their votes do not matter. During these very, very challenging times, keep us courageous, honest, and committed to healing our communities. Work through us and those who join us to let your light shine and for your will to be done. We pray for an informed, safe, and secure voting experience for all. Just hours ago, we have heard the very shocking and disturbing news about the plot against our governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Lord, we ask that you continue to protect her and her family and staff, protect the government and law enforcement officials who are handling the activities of the terrorism. God, we ask you to continue to bless our state of Michigan and to bless America. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain Washington. Next on our agenda is Sora Keela Crane. Keela is with the Ann Arbor Alumni Chapter also, but she's National Social Action Commissioner of Delta Sigma Theta, as well as chair of the Ann Arbor Alumni Chapter Social Action Committee. She is employed by the state of Michigan and is the Deputy Legal Director. Keela will share with us and talk about the purpose of the 1913 project and bring us up to date on information that's very important about voting. And she will take questions and provide answers after her presentation. Keela?
Thank you so much, Sora Winborn. Good evening, everyone. First, I also would like to say thank you so much to our members, Reverend Dolberry and Sister Krista Chambers-Price, for the great work that they have done to put this together. It makes me very proud as the chair of the Social Action Committee for the work that they have done to put this together. And of course, we want to give our prayers, as Sora Washington did so eloquently, to the which kind of goes to what the mission is for the 1913 project. It's gleaned from the 1619 project that you heard so much about last year, and it's really a continuation, right, to make sure that we are informed, we're prepared, and ready to participate in this election in 2020. And many of you have already participated in this election, as I know from my seat as the Deputy Legal Director for the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson. But we want to make sure that all of us in the Ann Arbor community, the greater Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti community, have the tools that they need to participate in this election, try to bust some of the myths that are out there about this election, which you'll hear from Sora Chambers-Price later on this evening, as well as making sure that you know if you want to vote in via mail-in ballot, know how to do that correctly so that your vote will be counted. And Sora Dolberry will be able to talk to you a little bit more about that. But we just want to give an overview about this year's election because it really is like no other. This year has been a topsy-turvy one for many of us in the greater Ann Arbor area through the coronavirus and the effects of the coronavirus and so many other things that have happened this year. This is the fourth election that Michigan will participate in November. And we have We started out in March with the presidential primary. We had one in May and one in August as well. And each of those elections have been unique. I was out there in March when we had several hundred students trying to vote for the first time, many of them for the first time, because of the new constitutional provisions that the state of Michigan has, that you can register and vote on the same day now in Michigan, thanks to the voters in 2018 for passing Proposition 3. We also are talking about mail-in ballots so robustly because another constitutional provision that was passed in 2018, or part of the same constitutional provision that was passed in 2018, allows no excuse absentee voting, which means that anybody who is eligible to vote in the state of Michigan can vote absentee. So prior to 2018, you had to be over a certain age, you had to be out or working on election day or some type of excuse to allow you to vote absentee. And now all you have to do is apply to obtain an absentee ballot, complete it, as Solar Dolberry will explain in just a few minutes, and send it in on time, and you'll be able to vote. There are other provisions such as straight ticket voting, and making sure we have provisions for our overseas and military families to make sure that they are ready to vote. So if you know anyone that is a Michigan resident but is serving our country in the military or is an expatriate and living overseas, please let them know that they have special provisions that are now in place because of Proposition 3 in 2018. There are so many very important races that are on our ballot that we need to make sure that we're not just focused on what the media is focused on, which is primarily the presidential race. That is very important, but it's not the only important race on our ballots. We have our own Michigan Supreme Court justices that are on the ballot. We have members of the Washtenaw County Commissioners that are on the ballot. We have our member of Congress that is on the ballot, and we have other local and state races. We need to make sure that we are truly informed about who is running, what is their position, and do they fit our values, and then make sure that we make our decision either on November 3rd or before. Because of a recent decision in the court in Detroit, there are some special rules around when you can turn in your mail-in ballot. And so we want to make sure, that if you get your mail-in ballot, go ahead and request your mail-in ballot if you have not done already. When you get it, go ahead and do the research that you need, complete your ballot, and turn it in as soon as you can. That's what we're asking everyone to do, to turn it in as soon as you can. If you need a little bit extra time to do research, that is fine, but you can drop it off at one of the mail-in drop-off places in your jurisdiction. Make sure it is your jurisdiction, not a neighboring jurisdiction. Just because you have an Ann Arbor address doesn't necessarily mean that it goes to the Ann Arbor clerk's office. Your ballot may go to the Pittsfield clerk's office or Superior Township clerk's office. If you live in Ypsilanti, yours may go to either the city of Ypsilanti, or the Ypsilanti Township clerk's office. So you need to make sure it's going to the right place. But also, if you mail your ballot in, according to the court right now, if you mail your ballot in and it is postmarked on or before November 2nd, then it has 14 days to arrive to your appropriate clerk's office. That is currently being challenged in court, so we'll see if that stands. But as of right now, that is the case for mail-in balloting. And so we want to make sure that you have all of the tools that you need. You can go to michigan.gov/vote to put in your information, and you can check your registration to make sure that you actually are registered where you currently live. We know that some of our stores and friends have moved since the last time they voted, so we want to make sure that you're registered in the correct place. Then you can look up your polling location if you choose to vote in person. You have that option. The Secretary of State's office, partnering with all of the clerks in the state, are providing personal protective equipment, or PPE, to make sure that if you want to vote in person, you can do so safely. Or you can decide if you want to vote through the mail-in ballot. You can do that in person, or you can mail it in or drop it off in a drop box. So you need to make sure that you have a plan. And then you can also do a sample ballot. So you can see exactly who's on your particular ballot for your jurisdiction, even down to the precinct level, and then complete your ballot. So I would love to hear any questions that you may have about what are the rules for elections. And if you don't have any, then I will turn it over to Sora Dolberry.
Thank you, Keela. Keela, I think you gave probably at least 1/4 of what I was going to give, so that's fine. So some of it just might be redundant, but nevertheless, we're going to get started here. Okay. So your official absent voter ballot comes in this envelope. It's an official election mail envelope. The contents of this envelope include, of course, your ballot. There is what's called a secrecy sleeve. And then you have the return envelope with your ballot number and precinct number written on it. And Keela talked about making sure that you return your ballot to the right place. So it is written actually on the return envelope. And you also have in your envelope the I voted by mail sticker. Okay. Now, this secrecy sleeve, hope you can see that. It has instructions and warnings for voting. It is important that you please read both sides very, very carefully. And if you haven't already done so, please make sure you vet the candidates on your ballot before you actually sit down to vote. If you're voting in person on November 3rd, as Keela said, you can view your ballot online. You can go to michigan.gov/vote. So I just want to highlight a couple of things about the ballot. First of all, please do not remove the stub that is at the top, okay? Leave it there. Now, if it accidentally comes off, don't worry about it. Just include it in the return envelope. It is very important that you read the general election information that is on the secrecy sleeve. And I'm just going to give you some of the highlights of that. I won't read it all. But first of all, it is very, very important that you use either black or blue ink to fill in your ballots. You have to fill in, you have to color in all the box. You cannot check it. You cannot put an X in it. It has to be completely filled in. Now, your ballot comes in 3 sections. You have 3 sections to your ballot. The first is the partisan section. Then you have the nonpartisan section. And then you have the proposals. Now, that first section, that partisan section, is usually on page 1. For me in my Pittsfield Township ballot, it takes up all of page 1 and then the first column on page 2. It might be different on your ballot. It's important that you don't just vote the partisan section. Please continue down ballot or down the ballot, as they say. That is so important. Now, if you are voting in the partisan section, you can vote a straight party ticket. There are actually 7 parties listed on the ballot, and you can vote for one of those parties in the partisan section, fill in that one box, save time, then go straight to the nonpartisan section and then to the proposals. Now, if you're like me and a lot of other people, if you do decide to vote what you call a straight ticket, then you may still go down ballot and then select the box for each one of those candidates in your party. It's okay. It's all right. I know for many of us, it's like a blessed assurance to do that, and I understand your ballot will not be spoiled. You can also vote a split ticket, okay? So you can vote straight for one party, but then, for example, for state boards, for regents, then you can vote for another party, okay? You can vote a mixed ticket. Now, a mixed ticket, when you vote a mixed ticket, don't check the partisan section. Okay, you just vote for the individual candidates from different parties throughout the ballot. Okay, now for the nonpartisan section, you must fill in the box next to the individual candidate. Okay, and then of course for the proposals, you have to fill in either the yes or no box. All right, now Keep in mind that you cannot vote for more than the candidates that are indicated under each office title. Make sure you complete both sides of your ballot. When you do so, you are going to put it in your secrecy sleeve, like so, so that the stub is showing at the top, and you're looking at it when you turn it towards yourself, okay? You need to read very carefully the other side of the secrecy sleeve that has instructions for absent voters. Keila has talked about mailing it. If you're going to mail it, place it in your official return ballot envelope. Most of them now have prepaid postage. I think in the August election, there were some townships and city clerks where you had to pay for it, but I think in general for the November election, every return envelope does have a prepaid postage on it. If you're like me and a lot of other people, you will walk your ballot into your clerk's office, or you may even put it in some of the boxes that they have. The boxes do have cameras attached to them as well. Keila talked about the breaking news regarding your ballot being postmarked by November 2nd, and as long as it reaches the clerk office within 14 days, it will be counted. We know that there are going to be some lawsuits coming up against that, so don't take any chances. Try to get your ballot in as soon as possible. They must reach the clerk's office before 8 p.m. on election day. If you need assistance from the clerk, for example, if for some reason you need someone to come from the clerk's office to actually get your ballot, you can do so. And if you need that, when they do come, make sure you check their credentials. It's important. As a matter of fact, you might even want to take a picture of them with your ballot in your hand. Let's say that you plan to go vote in person on November 3rd, but you have a medical emergency and you cannot get to your precinct to vote. You can call the clerk's office, and they will either come out or send someone out, or they will make arrangements for someone to make sure you get your ballot and that you are able to vote, okay? Then you can track your ballot at michigan.gov/vote. Now, once you voted, you got your ballot in, what happens to it after that? In particular, your absentee ballot gets to the clerk's office. They receive the ballot in their computer system. They check the signatures on the ballot to make sure that they match pretty much your driver license registration, your registration application, or if you have a Michigan state ID, they'll check the signature. I understand, I know at Pittsfield Township, and I'm sure probably most of the clerk's office, they have an option where they have multiple signatures in their system so they can match your signature with at least one of them. Once the signature is verified, then they put that absentee ballot in a vault until election day, and then they pull them out for the absentee counting board, the ACB. They will calculate all the absent ballots, and if the signatures don't match, they will even call you. And I was told by one of the personnel at Pittsfield Township that they can even go by your home and get your signature. And then they keep all these ballots in a locked room, of course. I understand that the machines at the polls are the same ones that they use to run through the machine when they count the ballots, and they will start counting absentee ballots, I understand, 7 a.m. on November 3rd. And just as an FYI, I was told that in 2016, they mailed out just over 4,000 absentee ballots. For the August primary, they mailed out a little over 10,000. But for the November election, at the time of my conversation, they had mailed out over 13,500 absentee ballots. So that's my information on your ballot, what happens beyond the ballot. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'll take them now. If not, then I will hand this over to Krista Chambers-Price, who is going to talk to us about the myths, lies, and truths about voting.
And there are so many that are out there. So we're going to shake things up a little bit. we're going to have a quiz at the end of this, right? Everybody excited about that? Testing, I see some heads nodding. So if you can open up your chat window, so you can, that it should be, there's like a icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat, and then a window is going to open up on the right-hand side, because we're going to do a test about myths and lies. So a myth and a lie, and they are different. A myth is simply a story that someone will tell to explain something that is unusual or difficult to understand. Now, a lie, on the other side, is a deliberate untruth that is, and the person who's saying that lie or that untruth knows that it's true, but they're going to continue to say it because they have their own agenda. So here's the quiz. So let's say which is which? Which is the myth and which is a lie? The earth is flat. Put it in your chat. You got a few seconds. The earth is flat. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wow, look at y'all. Okay. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Oh, I love it. Ooh, y'all gonna be mad when I tell y'all the results. Yes. Okay, is that it? That is a myth. That is not, that's not a lie, because it's a myth, because it's something that's so massive and so big, and it's difficult to understand, it's difficult to describe. It's now a myth that is leading, people believe this. There is a flat earth society that is out there. Okay, so that is a myth. Now here's a lie. Oh, no, let me back up. Is this a myth or a lie? Okay, I've stepped on my own stuff. I don't know if you guys heard this particular one, but it floated around a lot over the last few years. President Barack Obama was not born in the United States. Is that a myth or a lie? Oh, there's some exclamation points from Catherine. Okay, I felt that right here, Catherine. The caps, yes, you're correct. Everyone, that's a lie. But it was a lie that was repeated again and again and again. And what happened to that lie? That lie spread. So what you're hearing for, as it relates to voting and the election, there are lies and there are myths, but they are taking hold through parts of our country. And so tonight we want to address some of our top, we have 8 that we're going to share with you that we want to clear up. And then we can answer any of your questions of things that I didn't cover that you want us to get, you want to get some perspective on. So here's one lie that's out there, that election outcomes that are different from election night projections are suspect. So here's the reality. Of those nights when we're waiting and it's fun, we got snacks out, we're waiting for the results for the election, and they have the beautiful banners that are up, and by midnight you know who won. That's not reality. That's a media projection, because really across this country, the elections are certified later on in the month of November. So for example, in Michigan, and Sora Keela, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the certification date for the Michigan election is actually November 23rd. So we have to train ourselves or retrain ourselves with this season to not expect a result on November 3rd. So just get ready, y'all. So if someone said, oh, I won, or if it's on Twitter, no, until it is actually announced by someone who has authority and the ability to make that announcement, which means the election has been certified and it means all of the votes have been counted. That's what you believe, okay? So, and if the election is close, then we're gonna need time to make sure those ballots are counted. We wanna make sure everyone is counted. Okay, so let's say the election is close and it's a hot mess. And then you have attorneys in both sides of the election calling for recounts and audits and trying to say the election is illegitimate. Well, what's happening there is, or the problem with that is, recounts and audits those are all normal parts of the election because it helps the process we want to ensure that the process make sure that every ballot is counted. So if we have to go to court to make sure that every ballot is counted, then that's what we're going to do. But it's not necessarily a tool to turn or sway an election. That is just a lot of hot mess lies that are floating around. Okay, here's one of my favorites. The president can delay the election because of the coronavirus pandemic. What y'all think? Lie, myth, wish, what? Okay, yeah, that's a lie. The president has zero, goose egg, can't do it, authority to change the date of the election, full stop. Everybody got that? So if you start to hear stuff, be like, no, we can't. There's some dudes, John Adams and all them folks, yeah, you can't do that. So that cannot happen. All right, the other favorite that's out there is that millions of non-citizens are voting and tipping the election outcomes. Again, not true. Non-voting, non-citizen voting is exceedingly rare. So that is also a triple lie. Now, there are some districts that have actual voting machines versus the paper ballots that you put into the big box. For some, they're worried that there's vote flipping that's happening with these machines. So, for example, if they fail to start, or if there's a glitch, or it crashes, or it freezes, then it's being stolen. My ballot's being invalidated, or it's being switched to the other party. No, that's not happening. And it's what's maybe happening is that with these machines, they're so old, they're just malfunctioning because perhaps the glue for the touchscreen is not meeting the rest of the frame properly. But as far as the votes and how they're being counted within these machines, you're safe. Let's see, what else? Oh, here we go. No, we dealt with that one already. Does anyone have any questions? Did you guys get nervous with the quiz? Y'all were pretty, y'all just jumped right in there. I was impressed. Huh? Did I clear up anything? Was anything a surprise in terms of the lies and the myths that are out there and floating throughout this Ethernet again and again and again?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Laura, Krista, I still have a question as to why the earth isn't flat isn't a lie. So I'm still not past that one yet.
Yeah, well, let's see, we'll have to go back and look at the history books, but it's a hard concept to see when you're looking at the horizon and you just see that it's flat, right? Versus being able to go based on the angle that you're standing, then you could see the curvature of the horizon. But that didn't come until decades and decades later. But yeah, it was straight up Christopher Columbus was just gonna fall right off the edge of that earth. But yeah, that's what I gathered when I pulled that example. I'm like, you know what? This flat Earth society is real, and they're pretty active. But
well, I thought I heard you say, Sir Chambers Price, that a lie was intentional.
The lie is intentional, yes. And
so I didn't think the Earth being flat, that wasn't intentional. It's just what people believed.
Good point. Thank you, Sir President. See, thank you. That's why you're here. Yay. So
that's why I said myth, because it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Does that help, Sora Wendy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I've gone over time a little bit, and we have some PSAs. But if you have any other questions, just drop them in the chat area, and I'll respond while you're watching the PSAs. Is that cool? Everybody good with that?
Yes, our first PSA that we have tonight is with Trisha Duckworth, Ypsilanti resident, social worker, founder, and executive director of Survivors Speak, a grassroots organization that aims to give various kinds of survivors a voice.
Hello, my name is Trisha Duckworth from Survivor Speak. I want to take a moment to talk to you about the importance of voting. At Survivor Speak, we're under the premise that we have two very important things that we possess, one being our voice and the other being our vote. But really, what we need to understand is that our vote is our voice. It's how we speak to issues. It's how we let America know what our vision is and what we think it should be. It is very, very important. So we are asking everyone to vote on November the 3rd. Encourage your loved ones. Encourage your friends. Encourage everyone around you. Because as everyone knows, we are in some very, very trying times. But I believe if we use our voice and we use our vote, we can see change. But it's not enough to just vote. We also have to hold individuals accountable once they are elected. It's all a part of the process. So we hope you join this process, and we'll see you at the polls on November the 3rd. Thank you.
The next PSA is Brittany Pendleton, Connection Chair of Delta Psi Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Hello everyone, my name is Brittany Pendleton and I am the Connection Chairman for the Delta Psi Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Our sorority has been a part of social justice initiatives since its founding in 1908. For example, in 1938, we created the first congressional lobby on issues ranging from housing to jobs to lynching. Today, Senator Kamala Harris is not only a part of our sisterhood, but she is the Democratic nominee for Vice President for this upcoming election. It's important to vote in every election, but especially this November. Our ethics, our education, our health, our safety are all on the ballot. This ballot not only determines who sits in the White House, but who sits in the seats of your local government. This includes judges, state representatives, and prosecutors. So please, take yourself, your friends, and a few family members to the polls this November. Thank you.
Up next on our program, we have Wendy Woods, former Ann Arbor City Councilwoman and longtime community activist in our town. She is a member of Delta Sigma Theta, and she will discuss ways to get involved with this election season. So, Wendy Woods.
Yes, thank you so much, Sora Winborn. And thank you all for having this panel, and just want to stress the importance of it. And actually, as I speak to you this evening, I'm not just talking about how to get involved this election time, but I'm even more concerned about what to do after November the 3rd. So it is, of course, important that those of us who are able can be election workers, that perhaps we might be able to help get people to the polls. We found excellent ways that we might do our absentee ballots, and those are all certainly very important. In previous years, many of us probably would have had the opportunity to make pleas perhaps at our churches and our other organizations about the importance of voting. And while we can't do that in person at this point, I just want to encourage you to take the opportunity to do that virtually. But let me just mention something else, and this is actually harping back on what Sora Loretta Thomas said earlier. She said, we work, we serve, we strive, we vote. And I like to think of that as a mantra, that we vote is not the end of it. What comes after that is we work, we serve, we strive, we vote. That if we do not view this as something that we are continually going to do, then every 4 years we're going to be perhaps struggling to get our voices heard. But our voices are very important, and we cannot wait on a 4-year cycle to make that happen. Let me just mention one thing that I did while I was on Ann Arbor City Council that I am extremely proud of. I've got this little button on my shirt, which you probably cannot see, but if you have ever looked at the City of Ann Arbor's website, you've seen this beautiful big bur oak tree that is symbolic of the City of Ann Arbor. Very few people know that that particular logo, that drawing, was actually done by an African-American member of our community, Mr. Morton. And it was while I was on City Council that one day one of his relatives came to me and said, you know, my uncle my uncle made that logo, but I don't think anybody ever knows it, and he never got credit for it. So one of the things we were able to do was to write a resolution, which was passed unanimously by Ann Arbor City Council, that lets everyone know that indeed this was done by an African-American man, Mr. Morton. So it sometimes is the very small little things that will mean a lot. And I urge you to share that particular story with all of the children and others in our community. But as someone once said, all politics is local. It'll be wonderful if the person I'm voting for gets to be elected vice president and president. But in the meantime, I have to live in this community. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to know and to understand who's running for our city council, who's running for our mayor, who's running for dog catcher. Because if you don't have the right person out there as dog catcher, then you end up with a lot of really terrible situations. So I just want to thank you again for allowing me to just take a few minutes to talk. I want to also encourage everyone on this call to get in touch with either your own local city mayor or city council person or what have you, and find out how you can get involved in those numerous boards and commissions that are out there. They are sorely in need of people who look just like us on those boards and commissions, because those are the organizations that are making a difference in our communities, and we need to have our voices heard. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate it a lot.
Next on our program agenda, we'll have another public service announcement from Byron Roberts, who's with Theta Zeta Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
I'm Byron Roberts, a proud life member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and its Theta Zeta Lambda chapter, where we believe a voteless people is a hopeless people. I vote 2020 because Brother Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. taught us that Christians must stand up for the least of these, and because Brother Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court Justice, and who previously argued the landmark Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas case, encouraged those of us with platforms to state the case forcefully for fair educational opportunities. And because our own Theta Zeta Lambda chapter member, Raymond B. Randolph, a freedom rider during the Civil Rights Movement and a member of the Richmond 34, showed us that sometimes we must step outside of our comfort zone to fight the good fight. I vote 2020. Alpha Phi Alpha votes 2020, and you should too.
Next, we have a public service announcement from the mayor of Ypsilanti, Sora Lois Richardson.
Greetings. It is that season that comes upon us every couple of years, election time, a time when we have the right and the responsibility to make our preferences known for those who are going to have authority over us for the next couple of years, the next 4 years, or possibly the next 6 years. We elect people that are going to make decisions that will determine things in our lives, how we live our lives, how our lives are expressed. And so we need to take voting seriously. I try as mayor, as I've always done, to always encourage everyone that I know, residents and non-residents that live in some place else, I've tried to always say vote. Voting is not only a right, voting is a responsibility. And we need to take both of them seriously. Over the last 2 elections, voting has been down in the city of Ypsilanti, particularly in 1 precinct out of each ward. Voting was particularly low, so much so that they were in the last 100 precincts in the state. for voter participation. We can't have that. We must get out and vote. I also encourage returning citizens to vote. Just because you were in prison, once you're home, you still have a right to vote. And I do whatever I can, not only to encourage them to vote, but to help them get registered. I encourage everyone that is hearing this, vote, 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 and tell everyone you know, encourage everyone that you know to vote. It is so very important.
Our next item is a public service announcement from Michael Kinlock with the Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, and Inkster alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity.
Greetings. I'm Michael Kinlock, a member of the Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, Inkster alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Kappa Alpha Psi was founded on January 5th, 1911 on the campus of Indiana University. I'm honored to speak with you today about voting. The most important election of our lifetime is here. Generation of Black Americans before us fought for, were jailed for, beaten for, and even died for before we finally received the right to vote. As the late John Lewis coined it, they got into good trouble. And today, we are the beneficiaries of their struggles to vote. Everyone has a voice and want to be heard in one way or another. Voting is your voice, ensure you use it. The voting process embodies the it's on me behavior, and it's an important opportunity to make sure your voice is heard and your vote is counted. Your vote, your voice determines the future direction of our nation, our state, and our local communities. If we do not elect those that have our best interests at heart, we can never expect to have issues that pertain to us addressed. We rely on elected officials to introduce and execute legislations that are fair and just for all, not just a select few. To address the disparities in income, affordable health care, quality education, criminal justice reform, fair and equal housing, police brutality, and environmental protection, we must begin by voting. And lastly, every vote matters. Please vote because it's your constitutional right and privilege. Our democracy depends on you. Our livelihood depends on you. Your vote directly influences issues that affect our lives for years and generations to come. Your vote matters.
The state representative, Ronnie Peterson, submitted some comments they wanted to share with the audience. Representative Peterson is of the 54th District, former Washtenaw County Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Ronnie Peterson, and I just want to say I'm pleased to be a part of Delta Sigma Theta sorority presentation, and the part that I have is voter protection. It is so pleasing to know that such an important organization took such an active role in this year's political process. I appreciate everything you do to make it possible for others to have the opportunity that we have the pleasure by having to vote in the election process. Let me just explain one thing about voter protection from my standpoint and personal view. My grandparents, my father's parents never had the opportunity to vote. That's why it's so important to me. They were too intimidated to vote, to go to the polls and vote, and they knew it would be repercussions if they voted. That's why I'm pleased that our state legislative body protects the rights to vote. I'm pleased with having a state attorney general who stands up for voter protection and there to advocate on the behalf of the right to vote, making sure ballots are acceptable, absentee ballots are acceptable, making sure that no one intimidates by robocall, encouraging people not to participate in election procedure. The Attorney General has been very aggressive, and we have been very supportive of her effort. Thank you for what you do, Soror. Thank you for what you do to make a difference for voter protection.
Is next. Dana Green Jr. is with Sigma Rho chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Hi everybody, my name is Dana Green Jr., member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Sigma Rho chapter here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I just want to take a minute to remind you all to please, please, please make a plan to vote for this November 3rd presidential election. This year, there are many, many voices trying to suppress our votes. So we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to make their voices heard and make change to our community. It's very important that we take the time to vote so that we can accomplish our highest aspirations and pursue our greatest endeavors. All right, so please make a plan. If you've already requested a ballot, if you receive that ballot in the mail, make sure you complete it ASAP. Send it back via the post office. And then if you don't feel comfortable sending it back via the post office, take it to your local clerk's office and drop it in a secure drop box. Okay? Please, please, please make a plan to vote and make sure that your voice is heard this election cycle, November 3rd. Thank you and have a good day.
Next on our list, we have United States Representative Debbie Dingell, Congresswoman representing the 12th District in Michigan.
This is Debbie Dingell, the Congresswoman from the 12th District of Michigan, who's asking you to vote this November like your life depends upon it. Because it does. Every year we say, this is the most important election of your lifetime. This year, those aren't words, those are real. We have so many issues to be worried about right now, but the issue that I am the most worried about is the fear and the division I am seeing across this country. How hate is being used as a wedge issue, and that too many people are worried about their jobs, whether they have access to health care, whether they can educate their children, whether they have a safe place to live, and whether their retirement will be safe and secure. Too many people I know said their vote didn't matter 4 years ago, that their vote wouldn't make a difference, and they just didn't turn out. The most fundamental responsibility we have as a citizen of a democracy is to vote. And it's also our most basic right. If you care about what's happening in America, if you're worried about your family, your neighbors, your community, and your country, every vote matters this November. And we need to turn out in massive numbers in the name of my friend John Lewis, who died this year, to make sure that we send a strong, decisive message on election day as to who won, so nobody can question the integrity or the confidence in this election. So please vote this November. We need your vote.
Our next message comes from former First Lady Michelle Obama, When We All Vote.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for all that you're doing to help everyone in this country make their voices heard in this year's election and in every election. Your work has never been more important. From the ongoing pandemic to the passion and protests we've seen for racial and social justice, it's clear that we're in the middle of a big moment in this country. And that means we need leadership that honestly reflects who we are and what we stand for. Our job between now and November is to make sure everyone we know understands that the power to make change rests on our ability to cast a vote. Fair and safe voting is going to be more important than ever this year. And that's why When We All Vote is fighting to expand vote by mail, in-person early voting, and online voter registration. Now, I'm going to be honest. We're really going to need your help to make these efforts a success. Luckily, the first step is an easy one. Just spread the word. Make sure your friends, families, and communities are registered, know their rights, and are fully prepared to vote by mail this year or vote early in person. So, go to whenweallvote.org to find out more and get yourselves, your families, and your friends ready to make their voices heard. Let's get more folks across the country trained with the tools, the resources, and the information they'll need to vote, because this election couldn't be more important.
While we're waiting for Sora Mayman, I just did want to highlight, and thanks to Sora Chambers Price for those Mythbusters, I did want to highlight something that State that State Representative Patterson highlighted, as well as Mayor Richardson highlighted about those in our community who were formerly incarcerated. Wanted to really uplift this because this is a frequent question that we receive, that upon release from incarceration, or if you are incarcerated waiting for trial or waiting for sentencing, you are eligible to register and vote. So we want to make sure that everyone in our community who is eligible to vote can do so. So just remind any person that is a returning citizen, or if you work with communities or organizations that work with returning citizens, for them to understand that they too are eligible to vote, even if they are on probation or parole. They can still go to michigan.gov/vote right now and register online up to the 14th day before election day, or they can just go to their local clerk's office and register in person and actually get an absentee ballot and go ahead and vote right then. So want to make sure that we were busting that myth as well.
The Ann Arbor Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is honored to collaborate with the Willis Patterson Our Own Thing Chorale on the 1913 project, which is focused on continuing our 107 years of public service as a sorority and involvement in the suffragette movement. The Ann Arbor Alumni Chapter is committed to supporting Washtenaw County, which includes lifting and celebrating organizations like the Willis Patterson Our Own Thing Chorale. This distinguished chorale was founded in 1969 by Dr. Willis Patterson, Associate Dean and Professor Emeritus at the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance, who has been raising the consciousness of the community in song for over 51 years. It boasts a diverse membership from communities in Washtenaw County and beyond, and has consistently included several members of the Ann Arbor Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. The chorale is committed to the preservation and performance of traditional Negro spirituals, as well as contemporary choral compositions written and or arranged by African American composers and musicians. This prestigious chorale also works to raise funds for the Our Own Thing instructional program, which has provided free instruments and musical training to over 1,000 students since 1968. Their new director is Darnell Ishmael, a world-renowned baritone who has twice conducted the singing of patriotic songs for CNN's internationally televised Democratic presidential debates. He also created the arrangement you are about to hear. Please join them as they lift their voices and sing Glory, written by John Legend and Common, which has received multiple national awards, including Academy, Golden Globe, and Grammy. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory. 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 Oh, glory, glory.
Hands to the heaven, no man, no weapon.
Formed against, yes, glory is destined.
Every day, women and men become legends. Since they go against her skin, become blessings.
The movement is a rhythm to us.
Freedom is like religion to us.
Justice is just a position in us.
Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus.
That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down and we stand up.
Shots we on the ground, the camera panned up.
The king pointed to the mountaintop and we ran up.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory. 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 Oh, oh. Glory. Glory. Now the war is not over. Victory isn't won, but we'll fight on to the finish. And then when it's all done, we'll cry glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. We'll cry glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh, glory.
Selma's now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of the crowd.
They march with the torch, we're gonna run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles.
From dark roads, heroes to become a hero. Facing the League of Justice, his power was the people.
Enemy is lethal, the king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle.
The biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. We sing.
Our music is the cuts that we bleed through. Somewhere in the dream we had an epiphany.
Now we right the wrongs in history. No one can win the war individually.
The wisdom of the elders, young people's energy.
Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord, my eyes have seen the glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory.